So Matt, we're live.
Excellent. Sorry for running a few minutes late there, folks. I just wanted to mention that our president and vice president are both absent tonight, so I'll be chairing the meeting. So we're going to call to order at 7:05. And after calling to order, we will start with our favorite part of the meeting, which is the roll call, Mr. Manager. Thank you.
I knew that was one of your favorite parts. So it's pretty simple. We have online with us Brooke Richette Williams.
Here.
Hi, Brooke.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. In the room, of course, we have Matt Castillo.
Here.
And for the first time, Andrea Totillo.
Here.
Mayor Paul Gamrat.
Here.
And Valerie Renthaler.
Here.
And Deb Cassini-Klein.
Here.
Excellent. Well, with that being said, then this is our workshop meeting on April 3rd. And the next part is to move into our favorite part of the meeting. Second favorite part, as Alex said, which is public comment. So we don't have anyone present in the room, so we're not going to start in the room there. But as a reminder, folks, if you'd like to comment, it's 3 minutes for taxpayers and residents of the borough. And you can raise your hand on the Zoom feature, and then Alex will promote you.
So I promoted Kathy Bordner. Kathy, if you want to accept that promotion, please. So go ahead and unmute yourself, and you got 3 minutes.
We can see you, Kathy. We can't hear you yet.
Okay. How's
Now,
that?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. And I'm glad to know you can hear me loud and clear. My name is Kathy Bordner, and I live at 1926 Hampstead Drive. And I'm basically going to ask the same question I asked at the regular council meeting on March 13th. And I'd appreciate it if somebody could answer it. I don't know if Gavin's even there. If he's not there, I'm sure that somebody else on the council can answer this question. And the question is regarding the proposed conditional use permit ordinance for short-term rentals. And I'm asking, how would you enforce B11 in that proposed ordinance? The use shall not cause a negative impact on property values in the immediate neighborhood. And when I asked it during the regular council meeting, Gavin said that, well, you wouldn't have had it in there if you couldn't enforce it. So I'm thinking that since you included it and Gavin believes that you all think it's enforceable, somebody in the room could answer that question. I'd really appreciate that. And I also just wanted to mention something. I think that we are very blessed to have Alex as our borough manager. He is extraordinary in many, many ways, technology and record keeping and so forth. And what I'm about to say is not criticism of Alex, but at the last meeting, the people who were sitting in the resident section were not able to hear when Robert Guffey spoke during the public comment section, and he spoke via Zoom. I don't know if council members could hear him. I noticed, Alex, you got up and it looked to me like you realized there was some kind of a problem and you're trying to figure it out. And after Robert finished speaking, Jay mentioned that he's hard of hearing, and I also have hearing loss. And he said he had to finish reading, so I guess you guys have captioning or something. And it looked to me like Diane Law was really intently looking at the screen as though she couldn't hear it. So I would encourage the council members, if you, like the people who were in the resident section, could not hear what Robert Guffey said, I would encourage you to rewatch that meeting on Facebook so that you hear his public comments. It was less than 3 minutes probably, and I think that he really made a very important point. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to hearing my question answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
And if council would like, I can address that question briefly.
That'd be great.
Okay, so
the question had to do with the requirement or one of the factors.
David, can you just introduce yourself?
Yes,
I know. not
absolutely,
everybody's familiar with you as
You're
we
right.
are with Gavin.
You're right. So yes, my name is David Mongelo, and I'm here as solicitor for the borough this evening, filling in for Gavin. So yes, what you're referring to is one of the requirements or one of the factors that the borough looks at when deciding whether to issue a permit for short-term rental under the ordinance. And it's, as you mentioned, section B11, the use shall not cause a negative impact on property values in the immediate neighborhood. The way I interpret that, that's one of several items that the borough would look at in deciding whether or not to issue a permit or not. And the way I look at this, it would not require appraisals of all the properties or some sort of, process like that. I think it's more along the lines of, is this going to potentially affect property values? What they're doing here, is it some use that's beyond the scope of what we're looking for in terms of, short-term rental? Is there some character of the property that would affect other properties nearby, whether visual, whether something to do with the use itself that the owner would want to do. So I think that's the way that would be enforced if that were to come up. I know that's vague, but there'd be a lot of potential types of uses that might fall into that category, depending on the specifics of the situation.
And I'm sure if we had time, which we don't, there is a lot of case law about the issue of property value, all the way back to Euclid versus Ambler Realty and the foundation by the Supreme Court for local zoning and how it relates to a taking under the U.S. Constitution and property in general. Like, why are we even in this game that is related to zoning, related to other codes,
right?
How we enforce them. And often at the basis of a lot of our codes, we'll use the relationship to property values as a justification for doing it.
Right.
As you said, that doesn't necessarily mean that every time you do anything, you try to, stick your finger in the air to see which way the wind is blowing and whether or not this will directly impact negatively or positively. But that's the point of the regulations,
right?
Altogether, is that we're trying to, with this ordinance, minimize impact to property values as it relates to the health and safety and the welfare of our residents within our community. But again, we don't have time to go to all that legal.
Correct. Right.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Any other public comment? Just as a reminder, if, yep, looks like we had somebody else raise their hand.
I'm going to promote Kate to a panelist. Thank you. Okay, when you get over there, go ahead and unmute and turn on your camera if you like and speak.
Just as a reminder, please, for the record, state your name and address.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Hi, this is Kate Kerrigan Hill, and I live at 1441 Beulah Road with the emphasis on Beulah. And this is a compliment to whoever handled this. I did text Alex about this. We've lived here for 6 years, and the amount of trash that piles up against the Jersey barriers is extraordinary. And I've brought it up before, and I've even attempted to cross Beulah to pick some of it up myself, but it's just too damn dangerous. So I really appreciate, and just wanted to make sure this was publicly said, I really appreciate whoever, whatever was behind getting those, I'm not sure what to call them, except like plow-like trucks to pick up all of the filth, clutter, debris, garbage that was piled up against the barrier. So it's much appreciated from the residents on Beulah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that comment. I believe that was our public works that took care of that, and certainly, we like to keep the borough beautiful. And if there's other areas that folks recognize or notice, please let us know so we can all work together to keep the borough looking nice.
One of the blessings of a mild winter is it enabled us to do some public works, things that we don't normally always have the time to do. And one of them was for the Bigliotti crew with Ralph's leadership to get out there and clean that area.
Excellent. Okay, any other, I don't see any other hands raised. Did I miss anyone, Mr. Manager?
Steve, I do not see anyone else with hands raised either, so I think we should be in good shape.
Excellent. At this time, we will call to a close public comment. Appreciate all our residents and all the comments. It's always excellent. Next on our agenda that was posted online, we have special guest Daniel Brown, and I will turn that over to Deb for a moment to speak on that issue.
Yes, unfortunately, Dan was not able to, we were not able to coordinate this. It was kind of a last minute thing, but we do hope that he will be joining us on our next meeting, most likely in April. This is April, in May, to discuss some of the things that Penn Environment's doing. And also, I know I've brought this up a few times about the plastic bag, all of that, but he is not able to be here today, so.
Well, we'll look forward to having him another meeting.
Right, thanks.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 3, discussion items. So we will acknowledge the receipt of the draft meeting minutes from our regular scheduled March 6th borough meeting and council workshop meeting. Those meeting minutes were in the binder. So if anyone has questions or comments, please coordinate with staff accordingly. Item number 4, acknowledge receipt of our various other reports. So again, I believe all the regular reports for engineering, the library, et cetera, were included in the binder. So make sure that if you haven't had a chance to take a look at all those, read them before our meeting next week. And if you have questions, reach out to staff and or the committee chairs for each of those areas.
The only footnote is some of them, it's hard when the month ends the way it did on Friday, for the report to be completed. So I've gotten a couple even today from Vigliotti and Woodland Hills EMS, just because the calendar went through the weekend. So they will be in the final binder for next week. And we hope to get that out on Thursday with the long holiday weekend. We'll make sure staff isn't working with that on Friday. They don't have to.
Excellent. And I'll comment on the infrastructure committee. I will also have my report in for next week's binder. It missed this week, so that'll be coming.
I will second that for my committees.
And for my climate action too.
So it sounds like we all needed an extra day with the end of the month there.
Yes.
Excellent. Any questions on any of the reports so far, or everyone good there? Wonderful. Okay, that'll move us into item number 5, management and governance committee. And we will discuss the efforts to update the Churchill Borough zoning code and secure funding through the municipal assistance program to help with that. And I think Jay was going to speak about this, but I will leave it to your capable hands, Mr. Manager.
Yeah, Council President Doran and the Management and Government Committee have been discussing these items, and it pretty much is what's on the agenda. The Municipal Assistance Program is a DCD program that enables local governments to apply and receive up to 50% grant match funding for community development programs. So we've done multi-municipal plan through this program with Monroeville and Wilkins Township. And we also had a little assistance with our C1 visioning through the MAP program, which was done in the spring of 2020. And we'd like to make application to look at updating our zoning ordinance. And again, looking for that match to apply. They would like us to pass a resolution, which I have a draft of, and you'll see the draft is basically what's in the binder as far as the program guidelines go. And we'd like to have that on the agenda for next week.
Excellent. Any questions or comments on that? Great. Item number B is discuss approving the resolution 4564, appointing delegate and alternate to the Allegheny County Southeast Tax Collection Committee. I believe that was out of date, correct? So that's why we're updating
This
that.
is one of the groups who does require us to be formal and actually pass a resolution. And I think Jay, by virtue of updating the spreadsheet related to committees, if you look, one of the tabs he had updated were the liaison assignments, and we'll look to do that next week. And if you have any questions on that item and the next item and the one before and all of those, please text the teams, Jay.
Excellent. So we covered the committee and council committee assignments. Again, those were updated now that we have seated a new council person. Andrea, joined us last month, and Jay updated the different chairs and members for each of the committees. Again, if there's any questions, reach out to Jay or staff on that. Anything additional on item D, the two positions for the tree committee or the zoning hearing board?
Deb's committee is going to be discussing.
Right, the climate action, we're gonna be discussing with Ken. We have a few candidates, so I'm gonna initially reach out to them and maybe have them send me a little bit about why they're so interested in the tree committee. And then I will pass it along to the climate action committee and we can talk about it and go from there. So
Excellent.
that's where we're.
We'll look forward for a recommendation.
Mhm.
Okay, if there's nothing further on that, that'll take us to number 6, finance committee.
I don't have a report, but we can talk about the paving program and the capital projects that talked about briefly.
Yeah, what follows this discussion is simply the paving program that we will be looking to approve next week. We'd like council to do that. And if I could,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, just basically in 2021, we needed to make year-end transfers from the general fund to the capital reserve fund, which we did not do. Which meant that at the beginning of the year, general fund balance was higher than we might expect. Same thing kind of happened in 2022. In addition, if you look at the meeting minutes from last April, we discussed zeroing out a liquid fuels account, which we, again, did not do. There's reasons that many of you are aware of why we didn't end up doing that. The bottom line is they're still in our account. And when we started the beginning of this year, the general fund had over 50% of the year's needed revenues. And for local government, you know, you're really comfortable if you got 18%. You don't want to have to take a tax anticipation note, which means you'll have a tough time getting through your first quarter before the real estate taxes come. But we have over 50% in that general fund as a fund balance. And that's because we didn't do the transfers in 21, 22. We have a lot of catch up to do this year. And what that means is you will see at the end of the year, a lot of money move out of the general fund into the capital reserve fund to cover not only the paving program, but some of the other things we've talked about, like the ADA restrooms and the female locker room project. I just want to council, stay tuned, and the finance committee will be adding more detail and explaining how this will work going forward. But that's sort of the gist of why we feel real good about the paving program that we discussed a little later.
Excellent. Anything further, Val?
No, we met, I'm now chairing the finance committee, so we will be meeting in 2 weeks to move forward with that, and I'll be meeting with staff monthly in between that as well.
Excellent. Adam left some large shoes to fill, but we know you're more than capable.
Did.
Appreciate it. Okay, that'll take us into item number 7, Public Safety Committee. I don't think we have any updates for that committee. Unless anyone has anything to bring up.
I can
Oh.
make a little comment on that. I know that, I talked to Diane, one of the things that's gonna be pretty much highlighted at that meeting is the, speeding down on Beulah Road.
Right.
We got that letter, you all seen it from, Mr. Fisher. And he sent that video along, that garbage can flying through the air. And I know I saw the letter from Alex, people at the state level blocking it. We're gonna share that with Abigail as well, like for Senator Costa to see. So I'll put a little push on, you know, putting up some safety measures. I saw that thing with the tree, what's called traffic calming brochure, which was like 300 pages long. So I didn't read all of it. But I know that's gonna be on the topics we discussed.
Excellent. Okay, that'll move us into item number 8, which is Infrastructure Committee. So there's a long list here. I will speak through a number of them and then open it up for additional discussion or questions. So I think, you know, first thing is the public hearing, as a reminder, on April 10th, 2023, prior to the start of our regular meeting. So at 7 p.m. there will be a public hearing on the proposed zoning ordinance amendment, short-term rentals. Same night and same time. We will also have, after that, a public hearing on the proposed zoning ordinance amendment, the wireless communications facilities, or 5G ordinance, as we've been calling that. So I know these have both kind of been discussed at length. Just as a reminder for anyone on the meeting that maybe hasn't been here previously, currently we don't have any type of control on short-term rentals. We've seen where that's been disastrous for other communities. So the intent of this ordinance is to make sure that we have a way of making, you know, folks that want to run short-term rentals out of their home register, and then putting controls in place so that we can make sure it's done safely and with minimal impact, you know, to the community. and, you know, hopefully no negative impact to the community at all. So, same thing with the 5G ordinance. Again, this is something I know we've talked about at length, but just to get anyone that wasn't at the meetings previously, you know, the Federal Communications Commission has come out and said, you know, 5G, the next kind of generation of broadband for cell phones is allowable. You don't really have a right to stop them from putting up these small towers that we call them. Usually they go on top of telephone poles, you know, additional antennas on top of telephone poles. So this ordinance gives us as much control on how, making sure that's done safely and correctly, you know, that we're allowed to take based on the federal laws. So again, those are both available online for public review, and we'll be having public hearings on those next week.
They're available here at the Borough Building for inspection as well.
Okay, yep, physical copies as well, if you'd like to coordinate with coming to the Borough Building. I will let you take item number C there, Alex.
So we did receive 2 bids on this project a couple weeks ago. However, neither was consistent with the bid specifications. Therefore, the county's asked that the project be rebid, and we're working with the county to make that happen. Frustrating, but the good news was the prices seemed to be in line, kind of what we were expecting, which is always a good thing to see. And maybe this time around, we'll get other bidders. And if these 2 are part of the bid, they'll get it correct and maybe even give us a better price.
Excellent.
The bad news is it will take longer than we were hoping to get it done.
That seems to be seems to have happened a
Typical.
couple of times on this
Right,
project. So
right.
we'll look forward to getting it over the finish line, but it's another step in the right direction. Item number D is discussion for hiring Pashuk Associates to assist the borough in updating the borough zoning ordinance. So this was specific to making updates on the C1 commercial zoning ordinances. And this was discussed quite a while ago, you know, by the borough after the C1 visioning. And then, of course, we had, you know, an application on that property and some, you know, some other things. Everyone remembers what happened with Amazon and that application. It's time to go back to take a look at this and make the required updates. So as part of that, the infrastructure committee was asked by management and government to get started on this work and figure out how we're going to move it forward. We had a meeting with Pashuk to review scope, and I believe that scope document and agreement were included in the binder. After the infrastructure committee met, we did discuss this, and we'll be recommending that council moves forward with engaging Pashuk to help with this work. Our Tucker Arnsberg, you know, Gavin, who normally is also going to be involved, and I'm sure Dave or whoever else from the firm needs to be helping coordinate the legal side of that and some of the language. It's going to be a joint effort between the 2. So any questions or discussion on that?
You have a lot going on, Matt.
You have a lot going on.
Add that I'm very pleased to see this on the agenda this evening. I know back in June of 2022, there was some discussion of engaging Pashuk. So I'm glad to see that this is back on the table now. I guess my question is, back in 2018 and 2020, obviously I was not a part of council. I know that they assisted with the multi-municipal comprehensive plan, and there was a C1 district zoning already done at that particular time. So can you kind of just speak to what will be different this time, or how will they modify what they recommended previously?
So what they did, that is Pashuk Associates, they were the consultants that helped us with the multi-municipal plan. And as you noted, the C1 visioning effort in the spring of 2020. That's quite frankly, a lot of the public participation and discussion. And of course, after C1 visioning, we had 100 hours of public meetings and thousands, if not almost 10,000 pages of reports completed about studies from air, light, sound, stormwater, traffic, and other various comments related to the site. So, and I think Gavin, when he started the work here in 2013 as well, started to look at the zoning ordinance. So we've done a lot of thinking about the zoning ordinance. Specifically what Pashuk with Gavin's firm will do is put into code language the proper things that we need to have within the zoning ordinance, so that when other developments come to us, we've learned a lot and we'll know what conditions to place on those developments. We will discuss, for example, what uses the council deems appropriate or inappropriate for the district. And if they're appropriate, whether they're handled use by right, which is in any district that use that kind of gets in and has to fill out things with the zoning officer and then can move to project submission completion. The conditional use, which we're familiar with, is because of the Amazon would be an extra step, which would have the planning commission be involved in approving it and the council. And if you look at our C1 visioning, we all agree. I think you and many of the residents agree that we could work on that. And we have some work to do in Pashick and Gavin's firm will give us that code language that we need. This is implementing those planning steps. This is the implementation step. So it's real important we finish all the work we've been doing for almost probably 20 years since Westinghouse decided they were no longer going to be a part of our community.
Thank you for that clarification. Very excited about it. So I guess my next question is, are we voting next week to accept the proposal and move forward with, like, what are the next steps?
Correct. So yeah, next week we'd be voting to move forward with Pashick. And then the next steps are, I think per their scope document they sent out, they're going to work through the visioning, re-review that information, and then review some of the tripping points, some of the issues that were raised during the public hearings for the proposed previous development, so that they can wrap that up in a recommendation to council, who will then review the updates to the zoning language and try to help guide us on, what would make sense and would be commercially viable for that property, for different right by use, like Alex was saying, or things that we should consider conditionally.
Wonderful job, Matt. Thank you.
Sorry, Brooke, this is related as well to 5A, to that grant application. I don't want to slow us down, but if there's an opportunity to get some support, we will. This is not going to be done overnight. However, we do want to move on it immediately. And I think one of the things we also want to be clear is just the definitions section of our code alone. There is a lot that needs to be added and clarified. And as many of us know who have dealt in some of these legal challenges, the clearer you can be on your definitions, the better, the safer the community is going forward with whatever it is attempting to do. And right now, there's not a lot that's really defined well in our code. And I know that's been a frustrating thing for Gavin over the years. And I think probably a year after he started to make recommendations that our zoning code needed to be addressed. And I know he's very excited to get really at it in earnest.
Excellent. Any other questions or discussion on that? Great. That'll take us to point number E, and then maybe I'll get to be quiet for a minute. So this is just discussing our 2023 road paving program. Excuse me, and you know what? I'll let Dennis summarize this one because he's worked with all this, and we'll let him summarize.
Thank you, sir. And staff has put this together well on the agenda as well. We did accept bids at the end of last month, just last week. With that, we had a base bid of Jamestown Place, Margaretta Street, Surrey Place, Nottingham Drive, and Rushcliffe Road, and included add alternates for a portion of Thornbury, Old Beulah Road, and Margate, which are independently adults 1, 2, and 3. The bids were received, and the low bidder for all facets was A. Liberoni Incorporated, who is a contractor that has worked in the borough and worked with Churchill in the past and has done good work in the past and is a responsible bidder. So we did recommend, again, depending on what the Finance Committee and Infrastructure Committee in whole saw was able to be fit within this year's budget, but that all work came within the anticipated budget for all scopes of work. And again, the contractor is a fitting contractor.
Excellent. And then I would just add that after some discussion with folks on the Infrastructure Committee, because these bids were received after our meeting, and with the Finance Committee as well, we have some additional funds left from previous money, that came in that was unexpected due to, the pandemic, and some infrastructure money that was available and sent out. Additionally, during the pandemic, we were a little bit conservative in our budgeting for the road program because of all of the supply chain issues, gasoline prices, et cetera, being high. We didn't want to get caught in a situation where we were way under budgeted. That meant that there's a little bit of money left on the table from the last 2 years. So because of that, we will have enough money in the budget, and we're going to recommend to pave it all. We're going to pave the whole base bid and all 3 ad alternates, and work on getting a little bit more caught up this year. So that's going to be the recommendation from the committee. And if anyone has questions or wants to individually discuss, I'd be happy to do so.
That's great. That's great news.
Yeah, it is good news, and it does help us, continue to get our roads, back into a better standard and make progress on our multi-year plan. So excellent.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
if I can ask, in the past, there was some discussion about when they were gonna repave, adding some of those, traffic calming bumps in the road. Is that still being thought about?
On this year's program, no. But we would, when we do look to that, I mean, my recommendation would, we should have a traffic calming policy where, because some people aren't gonna like it. And they have to be done properly according to PennDOT specifications. They're humps, not bumps, for example. When you plow with a blade and you're at 3 o'clock in the morning, you want to be careful that that's coming up, because that could be very jarring, literally. And some people who are driving fast and aren't knowing they're there can hurt themselves if they're not properly installed. So what I'd like to do is the infrastructure committee begin to have a plan that identifies where appropriate with the engineer, according to PennDOT traffic calming guide, because you just can't arbitrarily put this. But Thornbury certainly is an example of one we've had challenged with people taking advantages between the stop signs to accelerate as necessary.
Right.
I think, I don't know if this summer we can do that, but it's something we would want to be looking at where eligible, feasible, and meeting our policy guidelines, where we'd want traffic calming to occur.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think it's a difficult situation to address because, oftentimes there's also unintended consequences where, all of a sudden you put traffic humps in the middle of those, and that just means that people are going to blow the stop signs completely, which sometimes they do already. But if that encourages more bad behavior, then, we need to be careful. So that's definitely something I think, like Alex said, that we won't be implementing that in this year's program. It's easy to always go back and add some additional asphalt and put one in, because it goes on top of the final page. So that's not a problem, but definitely something worth, putting on the infrastructure committee agenda just as soon as I get 2 or 3 of these other things off the agenda.
And I read somewhere too, where if you put something up like that on one street, then that can cause a problem somewhere else, because now I won't go this way, I'll go this way.
Right.
You just move the problem from one place to the next.
Yep.
So
That's
it's
why
not,
it's going to be deliberate and.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right, but it's a good comment. It's certainly something we have seen over the last few years, more aggressive and distracted driving, and it's not just a problem in Churchill. It seems to be countrywide. So hopefully there's some others, people much smarter than I am that are going to come up with better solutions.
Is there any data out there that shows whether they're effective at all? I know there's issues with it, but is there any data that we know of that shows the effectiveness
I
of it?
will work to get that answer, but I believe there is. Anything you can do to help drivers obey speed limits is good. And have we all not recognized those even in private lots and slow down?
Sure.
Yeah.
Try not to damage.
Oh, good. Sorry. The city of Pittsburgh has a DOMI Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, and they actually have done significant traffic calming data. They have a webpage dedicated to some of their studies, as well as some implementation to address traffic. Speed humps, as we talked about previously, rumble strips that are plastic, and you can remove them in order to prevent any kind of issue with snow plowing during the winter months. So I would suggest that members of council check out DOMI's website. I know that the Pennsylvania PennDOT also has a technical assistance program website. And I believe on there is a PDF file that talks about different traffic calming measures that they've used and studied to determine whether or not they're effective.
Excellent. Thank you, Brooke. All right. So I think that covers item F as well. We talked about the, Beulah Road safety concerns and the general safety concerns that Paul brought up earlier. And then the last item is item number G, which is the draft of the Borough of Churchill Sanitary Sewer Lateral Inspection Ordinance. So that was in the binder. Again, this is something that the Infrastructure Committee has been working on for a while. We were doing some final tweaking to the language and wanted to better understand how some of our neighbors were implementing their programs. So staff did an excellent job and went on, made some site visits and a few connections on that to help with that, as well as our, engineering consultant as always. So we finalized that and we'll be looking to put that in front of council with a recommendation to proceed and move forward on that. Excellent. Number 9, communication.
That's me. Lots of exciting things happening on the communication committee. One of the things that we have been talking about the last few months is the new resident packets. So as some of you may know, Mayor Paul goes out to new residents and introduces himself, which was really nice. And says, I am Paul, I am your mayor. And gives them information, gives them a packet of information about our borough and your neighborhood. Our staff did an amazing job at creating these new resident packets. They have been uploaded to eCode 360. So even though you may not be a new resident, you can still have access to them. They will be uploaded to the website shortly. And with that, we have also improved some processes for you to, when you go to residents' homes. And I know Ashley's been working with you and has an Excel sheet and all of those things that have been really helpful in improving and helping you in those processes of going out.
That spreadsheet was really nice.
Great, I'm glad.
I really like it.
Good, I'm glad it's been helpful.
Mine look like a jigsaw puzzle. They got it all straightened out.
Great, so I know
Really?
that there are some processes improved there. I think that will help you a lot as well. Another cool thing we're doing as we move forward in improving our resident communication, we're currently working with a design branding person to capture the essence of our community. And we're hoping that that feel will translate over to the materials that we have been creating. I know all of you got an email from Alex about the word cloud. If you haven't responded, please do so. I think in the future, we're going to be moving forward to asking some input from residents as well. So I know we're going to be doing polls and things.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're going to be working on in the future with soon to get resident inputs and things like that. So just know that that is coming at some point in time. Anything you want to add to that? No? Okay, cool. Do you want to talk about the community map, Alex? Or,
That's just it. In essence, if some of you are familiar with the borough, when you come to borough meeting council chambers, there's a map on the wall that is kind of iconic. It caught my eye the first day I came into the building, and it really represented well the beauty and the residential character and nature of the community. The artist who did that was well known at the time for doing a lot of the, I don't know if you call them pencil sketch drawings in Pittsburgh and some of the iconic buildings of Pittsburgh, Steel Building, the Mellon buildings and so forth, he had drawn over the years. So I tried to track down the artist to see if he could update it, because obviously, for example, Westinghouse was prominently featured in the middle, and it was called Churchill High School. So it was a little bit dated, needed to be updated, referenced the Churchill Valley Country Club, and those three things are different than they were then. Unfortunately, the artist is no longer with us, doesn't reside on the planet. Therefore, we had to kind of start with a new thought. And the new thought was similar concept, but get it into the digital age. And we can maybe use it on things like borough coffee mugs and swag. When you're banned from plastic bags at the grocery store, you might have a great looking Churchill reusable grocery bag or a t-shirt that you buy at Community Day. So we're really excited about this project, and that's why the word cloud is going to be essential, because we want to have a sense of 10 words from people that best express their pride in living in this community. What do they think of that makes Churchill special to them? That 10 words, what do they think of when they think about why they like living here? And as we get those, that will help us to brand ourselves, because we'll want to have that an image when we're moving forward, as we want to attract investment and stability within our community.
Thank you. 2023 summer newsletter articles are due to Alex Thursday, June 1st. I know that's still a little bit ways away. But you'll probably get a reminder email from me the month prior to that as well. If you cannot, if you need some ideas on articles, there is a whole list of article ideas. And we do like to
Here's
have,
the list.
it's in the drive.
Okay,
It's in the drive. Also, we do like to have articles from every committee. So if you have some cool pitchy idea from your committee, please write about it and send it over to staff.
okay.
I think that's it for committee.
Before you leave that,
Yeah.
one more comment. I usually save it for another meeting, but I will tell you, I'm up to 365 welcome packs
Woohoo!
over the past 6 years or so.
That's incredible.
Wow.
And that, and I did try that little QR code.
Yes,
In the newsletter.
yes.
And it works.
Good.
So
Yeah,
that was pretty neat. I'm old school, so that was kind of hard.
So if you,
With that, Paul, you inspired me about numbers. We're 70 away from reaching 1,500 on Savvy Citizen.
Ah, good.
So
Yeah.
1,400 people who are registered on Savvy Citizen. If everyone on this call could get 3 other people
Yeah.
to sign up, we can hit 1,500 this week, which is pretty good for a community
that's
of 3,000
amazing.
people.
And
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I noticed on the Facebook that I see that it shows there on that, I can't remember what it's called. It shows you the number of
Yeah.
contacts that we're making when they're posted. on the
Yeah,
Facebook
you get
page.
it when on your back end, you'll be able to see the connections of, because if people share it or people like it, then it shows up on their
Right,
feed
right.
as well. So you'll be able to see how many people it has actually reached,
So how many-
like audience reach.
Do we know how many people
Yeah,
we have
so
on
we have
Facebook?
319 who follow us, but the analytics is what you're referring
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
is the multiplier that you can see as people share and reshare. And of course, we have YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn. And we have followers in all those areas as well. So we try to have a full board social media presence. And I'm really hoping we can get to 1,500 soon on the Savvy Citizen, which is the citizen notification. Many of you guys may have signed up and noticed, for example, the weather alerts are
Yeah.
something you can have as
Oh, yeah.
well, customized for the community.
Right.
Just by checking a box as you register for Savvy Citizen. And that's another thing I think is valuable because we had the big windstorms this week.
Yeah, we did. I got
we
lots of
got those
notifications.
from your Savvy
Yeah.
Citizen as well.
Yeah, you got it bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in.
Yeah, there was a lot of them.
Better be safe than sorry.
Well, excellent work.
Can I just add one thing to
Sure.
Val,
Yeah.
communications?
Yeah,
Alex and I, got together and we're gonna really try hard to do more video blogs. In fact, we have a schedule now every other week. And I think it's great for the residents, like the one we did recently was with Ralph, our public safety director, and it was actually, I thought it was so interesting. You know, he
Very
showed us how, you know, and in that two-minute time, we learned a little bit about the truck and how they do what they do, and we hope to, our next one is going to be talking to our mayor, and then hopefully council members and other people that, you know, help our community be what it is, and it's a good communication tool for people to get to know who we are and what we do, so.
So Deb's our videographer and she did such a great job. But Ralph really stole the show right after
Oh,
it
Ralph.
posted on YouTube. He got like an offer from the safety channel to come join us.
No, they did it in one take, and the only
Really?
problem was I didn't press video, I accidentally pressed photo, and I went, oh my God, this was perfect, but we have to do it over again. And no, and both times, and you too, Alex, both times, they just did, they were the pros, I mean, they did a great job.
that's
Yeah.
How
awesome.
lucky we are to have you with your background.
Yes.
Well,
Coordinate.
yeah, but I don't know if
That's a
that.
big help.
No, that is a huge help. And I know that we've talked about having more videos and
Sure.
things and sharing that on the website as
Right.
well. So,
Because we feel in this day and age, people like video more than they do just pictures or even the written copy. So I want our residents to know that we're making a much more effort to do that and get more engaged with the community.
Yep.
So.
Thank you.
Mhm. Sure.
Excellent work. I would definitely second on the new resident packet. There was a lot of stuff in there that I enjoyed reading, some history, some other just tidbits to know. So even if you're a longtime resident, check that out on the website, you know,
Okay.
once it's posted, or go to the E-code and just search new resident packet. It should come right up.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of neat stuff in there. With
Oh,
that,
sorry, I should note on that, on the new resident packet, it is a living document, so there will be times where that will be updated. So while the residents get a printed copy, there will always be updates on that one, and that will be constantly updated on the website.
excellent. With
Sorry.
that, we'll move on to climate action.
Okay, well, I'm the new chair of Climate Action, and now that we have Andrea aboard, Andrea and Matt and I are on Climate Action. We have our first meeting with our new group on Wednesday, so we have a lot to discuss, you know, our plans for this year. You know, working with the tree committee, working with Connect and Penn Environment on issues affecting climate change and how we can, within our authority, do the best we can do for our community. And so we'll be looking into that and a few other things along the line, how we can maybe possibly reduce carbon emissions, all kind of things. So we're gonna have our meeting Wednesday, and then I will have more details in the for you, Alex, for Monday. That's it.
Excellent. Any questions or discussion on climate action from anyone else? Fantastic. Moving on to number 11, ad hoc deer committee. So I'll speak on behalf of the deer committee since Diane's not here, but we're going to be having an open forum or a listening meeting for residents. That will be held at the Blackbridge Civic Association, 1200 Beulah Road on Thursday, April 20th at 7 to 9 p.m. So we'll be there. We're there to listen, to hear what folks, you know, have concerns about deer, and we're interested in hearing from community members about that so that we can then work on next steps and figure out what our deer plan should be. Alex, did you have a chance to talk with Diane? Will we be able to offer that virtually as well?
That was my question too.
Don't know.
Okay.
Not able to confirm. We've discussed what logistics it would be for us to facilitate, you know, the Zoom interaction. I think for those residents who are most interested in the subject, don't plan on it being the virtual, but don't be surprised if by the 20th we figured something out to make it happen. Just haven't had that confirmation yet of some of the logistic issues that we were trying to solve.
Yeah, I know logistically there were some questions, so I didn't know that was resolved, so, okay.
Excellent. No, we'll certainly work towards that. If for some reason we're unable to, I would also then encourage, you know, each of our residents, if you have concerns or specific information you'd like to provide, you know, for that listening meeting, please, you know, email it directly to myself and
We'll
Diane.
definitely record the meeting.
Right,
Right.
The challenge is we're not the Wi-Fi there.
Yeah,
right.
We don't have the ability to as easily broadcast it. So we don't want to say it's going to be broadcast. Everybody's turning in at 7. You realize we're not, and they're all trying to scramble to get over to the Civic Center.
well,
Only
it's
a
not
few minutes away.
even, it's not even Wi-Fi too, like speakers, like
Yeah.
making sure
Right,
that
it's
people
very
can listen.
complicated,
It's-
yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Mhm.
other complicated issues, so I
But they will be able to see it afterwards.
Yes.
For certain, and we're hoping to be able to do it live as well in case somebody can't make it, you know, or isn't comfortable coming out to a public forum, et cetera. But, you know, again, I'd encourage everyone, you know, summarize your via email as well and send it to my address, and I'll make sure Diane sees it. And, you know, again, that's on April 20th, Thursday at 7 to 9 p.m.
We get that out on
Blackridge.
Savvy Citizen as well.
Yeah,
that'll be
that's
on
gone
there,
out
yeah.
multiple.
it'll be all on social media, Savvy Citizen, everything.
And the flyer you're holding is for your approval or the.
Excellent.
Oh, I thought everybody.
And then,
Actually, I thought Diane was gonna be sitting there, so I was trying to set her up with it, but then since you're there, worked out perfect.
Great, even better.
any other questions on deer ad hoc? Okay, perfect. Moving on, the ad hoc education and school district committee.
Just a point of mention, The Woodland Hills High School students will be participating in a tree planting that will be occurring on the 14th of April at the Churchill Valley Allegheny Greenway. And then they will be planting about 150 trees, and then they will have another planting in May on the 23rd. They're looking for some additional volunteers, and that is being facilitated through the Allegheny Greenway as far as volunteers who are going to be coming out to assist the high school students. We have added all of the agenda meeting dates for the Woodland Hills School District to the calendar. And so individuals from the community that are interested in participating or attending those meetings, you can visit the Churchill Borough website, look at the calendar to find out the dates for the upcoming meeting and times. I'm going to be scheduling a meeting with the school district school board president. We're just working out, dates and times that will work with myself and him to be able to discuss more specific issues regarding Churchill.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brooke. I would just add one other comment under the school district discussion that I saw the advertisement for the Woodland Hills musical. I believe that's the last 2 weekends in April, so I think there's probably tickets still available if anyone's interested. I'm sure they always put on excellent production.
It's April 21st and 22nd, and then April 27, 28, and 29.
Excellent. Any other discussion on the ad hoc or comments? Okay, that'll take us on to item number 13, the mayor's issues for consideration.
Thank you. Obviously, one of the things I'm really happy about is sitting over in the office is some packages that have the new electronic speed signs that we're going to be placing in the borough, particularly Beulah Road and Greensburg Pike. And I talked with the chief the other day, and I believe that, Ralph and
Gateway.
were out there, trying to figure out what's the best placement for these signs. So hopefully that's going to do some calming of that speeding down that hill.
We'll need permission from PennDOT, and that's why we need Gateway to be involved to file the applications for placing the.
So that's been a long time coming. And I have to thank Senator Costa for coming through with those
Yeah.
grant money to help us purchase those. And I believe there's may still be some money left over to purchase some additional signs. I mean, I'm not sure, but when we can look at that, but at least if we get Beulah, a start on Beulah and Greensburg Pike. And also, I was talking to the chief about up on Greenberg Pike by the school.
Yeah, schools.
To get the flashing lights up and going again. So, and I'm not sure, Brooke, if you're listening in too, as to who's responsible. Is it the school district? Is it us? Alex is, I mean, it's just.
It's something we can review with the infrastructure committee and the public safety committee. And I've shared with you last year when this issue was being discussed, what I was able to find from the paper trail from previous management related to the subject. But the local share account is administered by the Commonwealth Finance Authority through the state. Senator Costa was key in getting that funding for us. And it's gambling money. It's part of the casinos in Pennsylvania generate public safety monies that communities can apply for issues related to safety concerns within their communities. And it was Senator Costa's suggestion to you to make application on that, and he shepherded it our way. They just decided on March 16th, I think. we're gonna have a
March
meeting.
16th, yeah.
We're very excited that happened, and we've tried to get a start at it. First thing is got to sign the application or sign the grant agreement, which we're in the process of doing. And then we need to make application to PennDOT, and then actually get approval to on Beulah. Greenberg Pike, it's a county road. We have to work with them to coordinate their permission. Even though it's we're one responsible for signage and traffic control, we still need the owner of the road to give us permission to do it and do it the way they would want it to be done.
Right. But we're ready to go with the sign shop deal, correct? As soon as
We
they,
still need a permit.
okay.
Yeah, from the state.
So I'm excited about that because it's gonna be flashing yellow, red and blue lights with a flash of white light. So when motorists go at a certain speed, it's gonna inform them.
Correct. If you're driving safely, it will be pleasant towards you. You'll see a nice sign being steady.
So like a smiley face or something? Good job.
For not speeding.
Yeah, but if you,
Thank you for that.
depending on how fast you're going, there's a strobe kind of function. If you're a large bit over, it kind of flashes. Like, really, you need to slow down, please stop now.
And I'm sure most residents on Beulah will be very excited about
Yeah.
this too.
Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
getting so out of control.
I did have some other things. Let me see what I have. The speed sign was one. Oh, I got a message the other day from the bunny who's going to be in the borough this coming Saturday.
Right, the Easter Bunny is coming
She said
Saturday,
that she would probably be getting underway around
10 o'clock. The
So-
schedule is
Is on the-
is on our website,
And in the newsletter. it's
in the newsletter, and, you know, I also talked to the Easter Bunny.
Okay,
And, but very important to know that sometimes Easter Bunny runs a little bit late,
Yes.
likes to talk to the kids and, you know, so be patient. You know, the Easter Bunny might not get there right at the time it says, but
Exactly.
hopefully as close to the time as possible. Listen for the sirens.
We'll
And
have
of
an
course, the Easter Bunny, we can't go down every street.
Mhm.
So if your street's not on the list, you know, maybe you know two street, I mean, we're not that big,
Right.
you know, if there's 2 streets away, maybe you can go stand, you know, at the end of somebody's driveway. And so far, I've looked at the weather forecast and it's a good day. Now that can change a lot in
Sure.
5 days, but yeah, so the
We're in
Easter Bunny,
Pittsburgh.
right. But the Easter Bunny is all set to go, so it's very exciting.
That's good. I'm
Yeah.
excited about that.
Mhm.
The other thing, was that just to compliment the staff on that latest newsletter. I really combed through that. There's so much good information in this. It gets better and better each
Mhm.
time we put one out.
Mhm.
I'm really happy with the way there. I know when I first was elected mayor, one of my things was we don't communicate with our
Mhm.
residents. And we've really done a 360 with that.
Sure.
I mean, with what Alex has done, everyone in the staff, with your committee, all the committees, just putting all that information out. I mean, it's there. So there's no reason not to know what's going on.
And also shout out to Ashley and
Yeah.
Allison,
Right.
because Michelle, I'm sorry, yes. Michelle, because they've all 3 of them have done such a great job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I have for now.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That'll take us into any updates and we'll open up for council staff comments. I guess we'll start with staff.
So in tonight's meeting, we have 13 attendees. And 7 panelists. Of course, this will be recorded and be able to be watched on YouTube after the meeting.
Excellent. And then we'll go through any council comments. We can start online. Brooke, did you have anything?
I don't have a comment, no.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll just go around the table in the room.
I have a few. To your point about Suzical, I just want to give a shout out to Woodland Hills High School. They do such a tremendous job with their drama and their theater, and I just really encourage everybody. It's a great evening out. I go to all of them, and except for when it was COVID and they didn't have any. And you seriously, you feel like you're on Broadway. They're so good. So I encourage everybody, if you can, to do that. Also, another shout out to Woodland Hills High School, Kevin McGuire and his group for winning the Pennsylvania Outstanding School Library Award at the annual conference in Harrisburg, which recognizes outstanding school library programming, instruction, and services. And that is a really, really important award, and they beat out every school in the state. And I think, you know, it's good to hear such good news about our school system. And also, Woodland Hills School System is partnering with Vex Robotics, and it's one of the few and only K-12 schools in Western Pennsylvania with a full robotics curriculum. So I think that is really terrific too. I'd also like to thank our new sponsors for the Community Day, which is Tucker Aronson, Gateway. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, and also the Rotary Club. And if there's anybody out there who would like to sponsor at any small level or whatever, anything you can contribute, we can use it to just make our community day as good as it can be. And I'm trying to think what else. Oh, yes.
Just come to dinner and then.
I was just gonna say, I hope all our residents look through their visual here, the newsletter, and it's the second last page before the end. And I hope I'm giving the owl the right. But please sign up. It's gonna be a lot of fun. The Italian Steakhouse in, is it, oh, right, it's Ask the Italian Steakhouse, the Grandview Golf Club, May 7th. cocktails from 5:30 to 6:30, cash bar, but a really reasonable and wonderful meal. Great way to meet, new neighbors, bring old neighbors. You can clip this part off and send it in with a check. There are many ways to pay. You can call the borough and give your credit card over the phone. We have that all set up, or you could even come to the borough and give cash, whatever, if you want to hand the check, whatever you want to do. But I'm really encouraging our residents to do that. And what other? Oh, I did have one other. To Kate Hill's point, I noticed the past couple months a lot of litter everywhere, and a lot more than usual. I even see it on my road. I live on Old Beulah, and I don't know what the story is here, but I just wish everybody would take more caution. And I felt like Kate, like one day I wanted to stop over there and start cleaning up, even though it's too dangerous on Beulah Road. But and maybe we can look at other places where we can do a little cleanup. But I noticed that it's kind of more than it used to be, and it really bothers me. So that was one other thing I wanted to talk about. So I did, one other thing, and then I'm done. There is a meeting, it's the Climate Action for Environmental Justice Committee meeting, and it's with Connect, and it's April 6th from 10 to 12 at the Forest Hills Borough Building. It's open to the public, and anybody who's interested in environmental issues and how it affects our community, because it's not just Forest Hills, it's quite a few of them. It's a public session to listen to communities and their climate action needs. And, the big one coming up is the plastic bags ban, but there are other things as well. So again, that is April 6th from 10 to 12 at the Forest Hills Borough Building, and it is open to the public.
That's Thursday.
That is Thursday. You're right. That's Thursday. That's all I have now.
To your point about the litter, excuse me, the Churchill Garden Club meets third Wednesday of every month, 9 o'clock at the Borough Building. And we set out and we clean, the entrances and exits to the Parkway, Grady Road. We have a couple different spots that we like to hit. We only have a handful of people, so we're kind of limited.
No, we need more volunteers.
How long we can be out there, but if anybody wants to volunteer,
Sure.
we have safety vests, we have grabbers, we supply the bags, anything you need to do it. Big signs, litter crew ahead. We try to be as safe as we can. And I know it's a weekday, people are working, but if we could get enough interest to pick sometime in April when everybody seems to be doing Earth Day cleanups, and maybe we can have a big cleanup somewhere along the line. The Grady Road, that little steep part, we need some young people to climb up that hill,
Right.
get that trash.
And maybe with the weather getting warmer, we'll have more people who might be interested in coming out.
Yeah.
So,
And for the cleanup, along Beulah Road, no one has mentioned this, but I don't know how many people know Brandon and Jeremy who work on the road.
sure.
And those two guys do a lot in our borough. They're like the young sung heroes. No one talks about them. They do a lot of work in the borough, so. And I know Alex pointed out to me the other day when I came back from my much needed vacation, that that section of Beulah was cleaned up, and that
Yeah.
really looks good.
It's nice.
We certainly appreciate our public works folks and all the work that they do, and Jeremy and Brandon are certainly
Great.
excellent to have here in the borough. Without getting too long-winded, I would just say as a reminder on the trash, one way to help reduce kind of trash blowing around, and it is part of our ordinance, is that any trash you throw in your cans, is to be bagged. I know it can be tempting to throw kind of loose stuff in there. The problem is with the automatic trucks, when they dump that stuff over and then empty the large bin into the truck, if there is high winds, it'll catch that loose trash and then distribute it around. So just make sure that, if you're putting stuff in the can, it's bagged, in large bags together.
Oh, and also one more thing about that, the recycle bin, I've seen occasionally people put their recycle in a plastic bag and put it in the bin, and you just have to put the stuff in the bin, not in the plastic bag. So because
Good
otherwise,
reminder.
yeah, just,
We're gonna have to do a video blog on that.
well, I really do think we
Wasn't
do.
there one?
Yeah, we did.
There is one.
Yeah, but I think we need an updated one.
Time for another one.
Or possibly maybe we can get together with Waste Management and we could do a little, I don't know, have something in the Yeagle room where they talk about, because I know when we originally did the recycling, they had a meeting for the residents to come in, and we learned you can do this, you can't do that, watch for this, watch for that. Maybe we need to look into that and do something like that, like an update.
Sounds like a great newsletter article with lots of pictures.
Okay,
which I know hasn't been done before, but it could be refreshed.
Okay.
I'll look forward to both of those committees working together. Mr. Solicitor, anything?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Excellent. Val,
I'm good.
Andrea?
No, just very happy to be here.
Okay.
And we're happy,
Anything
we're
else,
really
Mayor
happy
Paul?
to have you.
No, but the little arrows on the garbage can mean this faces this way. I've
Right.
seen them. I've seen
No,
them
I know,
turn the other way.
right.
Very good. Well, then,
Makes it easier for pickup. But the fellow that we have, Larry, who is our garbage guy, he is very good. I've seen him get out of the truck and chase trash down the street. So,
Mhm.
if you see Larry out there, make him a wave, because he's a good guy.
Good.
very good. And then as our council president would say, I guess I'm the last person standing between y'all and the door, so I'll keep it short. I just want to take a moment and echo everyone's comments. I certainly appreciate working with, wonderful folks here in our community, our council, our staff, we're very blessed. Recently, I was talking to someone else that I know that got involved in local government that is not, anywhere quite around here, and they were telling me some horror stories about what it's like to work in their community. And I thought, if that was my community, I don't think I'd want to be there anymore. So we're very, very much blessed. And with that, I'll put one plug in that during the high winds, there was a good sized tree that came down on Henley. Excuse me, before I could get there to volunteer with my chainsaw, both Wilkins and Churchill were, fire companies were already on scene because somebody had called and had the tree, trimmed and off the road and the safety issue taken care of well before I could even get
Glad
down.
you said that, our volunteers spent 5 or more hours on Saturday. There was one in the Black Ridge neighborhood that was problematic because it came down with power lines.
Yep.
Which meant they had to wait for Duquesne Light to come and deactivate the power so that they could safely be cut. I can't say enough about volunteers. While we were all kind of just hoping our power doesn't go off, those men and women spend hours just mining stuff like that and getting rid of that. So make a donation to the fire company, please, to help
Yes.
keep that. Because that costs money to get those chainsaws and all that.
Absolutely.
And just one last thing on public safety, you reminded me, we had 2 trainings this month in Churchill that our police helped facilitate here in the Eagle Room. Today was on sobriety testing and helping the officers learn, but it's just not our officers. Officers from all over Eastern Allegheny County participate, kind of filled the parking lot. You noticed it today. And earlier there was one, again, that we take the lead on, Officer Shawless, related to active shooter training. So the police department in Churchill is small, but is a leader and does a lot to participate in the training of other departments here in Eastern Allegheny County. Very proud of it.
Absolutely. We're very proud of our police department and blessed, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Alex. With that, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, folks. Everyone have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thank you.